Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance promised to be the ultimate version of the formerly Switch-exclusive post-apocalyptic JRPG by Atlus. And in some ways, it is. Most notably, its striking art direction is no longer held back by the original Switch hardware, but fully tuned to modern platforms with tight performance and visual fidelity and almost no loading times. But the original also faced criticism in regards to game design, which Vengeance tried to remedy. The SMT spin-off series Persona has taken on a life of its own, but it's rare for a new mainline SMT game to come out, often dividing core fans, especially because despite sharing the same gameplay foundation, SMT games are usually very different from each other. SMT5 was the first game to drop traditional dungeon crawling and go for more open sandbox exploration within the demon-infested ruins of Tokyo, which was surprisingly effective. You're still collecting and fusing demons to survive these wastelands, but now it feels slightly freer. Not last because SMT5 did not compromise on the series' high battle difficulty. If you're equipped with a bad team of demons, or if you think you could just grind through small battles in auto mode, straight from the start you will get annihilated and sent back to the main menu like back in the day. There's always one main goal to reach on the map, but how to get there unscathed is up to the player. In fact, constantly fine-tuning your team and developing new combat tactics is as engaging as ever, perhaps even more so than in previous games. SMT is a prime example for turn-based JRPGs done right. It's not about grinding XP points, but to keep customizing your builds to tackle new problems. In turn, you can defeat higher level bosses with the right strategy if you've been smart with your resources. The level design isn't your typical JRPG open zone either. As the game goes on, the city ruins become ever more labyrinth-like, and thanks to a focus on vertical level design, no secret or point of interest on the horizon is as simple to reach as they look. Which is good because many other JRPGs have become too obvious. Besides that, SMT5 nails the vibes when it comes to the audiovisual department. Despite its colorful presentation, it feels anything but lighthearted. The atmosphere of these wastelands is very dense thanks to a surreal art direction and an impressive techno soundtrack. Yet the game remains unmistakably Japanese. It doesn't shy away from boasting a butt rock attitude as well as wacky humor, especially through the zany behavior of the demons. It's even a little jazzy from time to time. In that sense, SMT5, despite looking more sleek and modern, still feels like one of those obscure yet weirdly intriguing Japanese PS2 games that always flew under the radar. By the way, if nothing else, other games should take note of the big PS2-esque fonts this game has. This industry needs to go back to actually readable text. Still, some fans were disappointed with the original release. Despite a strong first impression, the sandbox zones were not as plentiful as the dungeons in other SMT iterations. Other people weren't satisfied with the light story. Vengeance seemed to tackle these criticisms by introducing a whole new campaign, including one big traditional dungeon at the end. However, overall, Vengeance didn't significantly change the original. As is usual with some remasters, sadly, their main focus was to slightly dumb the core design down. You can now save anywhere, which makes traversal more comfortable but also less tense. Reaching a safe spot after multiple hard fights in these wastelands is now less impactful. And I hate to be that guy, but it seems only From Software still understands this. Atlus, on the other hand, introduced a new Navi-type character to highlight more interaction points on the map, making the exploration look even more like a Ubisoft nightmare. Thankfully, as I've already said, the vertical map design still doesn't make exploration too obvious, and you can always turn off the distracting minimap. Out of sight, out of mind works here. As for the story, here's the thing. SMT has always excelled at creating strong vibes rather than excessive storytelling, just giving enough context for its intense dungeon crawling. For me, the bad thing was that SMT5 brought in Japan's tried obsession with high school cringe. SMT always outsourced these high school tropes and waifus into Persona, while the mainline games were more about killing and devouring anyone in your way. In typical Atlus fashion, Vengeance merely introduced new waifus rather than improving the plot. So for an actual director's cut, I would have done the counterintuitive and removed some story. NPC dialogue is still fun enough, but the writing of the main story is painfully cliched and among the worst stories of the main series. Which means that the small amount of cutscenes compared to other JRPGs is to me a feature, not a flaw. SMT5 Vengeance is still a pretty awesome game with an addictive gameplay loop and tight atmosphere, because it still is SMT5 at its core. Yet it's hard to really call Vengeance an upgrade. If anything, it made the game slightly less radical. It looks better than ever, still plays better than many turn-based competitors, but ultimately, if you're into hardcore dungeon crawling with intense atmosphere and you're completely new to the series, SMT3 Nocturne is still a notch better.